I am Stephen Tyszka.
And I'm Brian Lau, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
So we've had you on before, Steve, talking about influence.
Yes.
And this is your next project, which I'm excited about. We're glad to be partnered with you guys. It's called Troubify. It's even on your shirt. I thought we might go through this conversation to discuss what the heck is Troubify and how we're partnering with, I think, the music industry.
Great. So, Troubify, we've built several technology platforms before, solving problems for gamers and solving problems for music fans. What we haven't built yet was a platform to solve the problem for the artists and the other players in the music industry, like the music publishers. So what we've done is we've been able to build a business model that helps to solve starving artist syndrome. And we do that by developing several innovative revenue streams on top of deep fan engagement features inside of our Troubify app.
Okay. So when you say deep fan, what does that even mean?
Sure. So Brian, actually, you want to speak about the engagement piece a little bit?
Sure. So we're actually building some engagement features where we allow monetization of some of the features and functionality, and we build in engagement features where there's messaging, special messaging, and that's all built around like tipping and some of the ticketing and other features like that.
I want to get back to the revenue stream part. I think that's interesting, but what the heck is a Troubify? All these new modern names,
So actually, I'll give you a little bit of information on why the name Troubify. So back in the Middle Ages, Dark Ages, troubadours were music artists or poets, typically of knightly or kingly rank, who would go from town to town broadcasting their message, typically of love.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that this fits the modern troubadour, right? The modern age is the digital troubadour who can hop on an app, press one button, and to broadcast his message of love to the world, whatever it may be, en masse. So Troubify represents the age of the digital troubadour.
I love it. I love it. And in terms of technology, how complex is this thing?
Well, the technology, there are a couple of existing technologies that we're building upon. So the streaming, a lot of the engagement pieces aren't necessarily technologically advanced. It's the integration and how all of them play together. There is one piece of it that will allow just your standard everyday artist to become a micro influencer. So an influencer, a brand ambassador on a smaller scale, but it allows them to participate in that arena without having a huge following like a standard influencer would have.
It's always important to do bona fides, right? However you say it. So let's talk quickly about your guys' path to get to this point. I know you and I've talked, you've been trying to get this project because you've had so many projects on your desk, you haven't been able to get to it. So give us some real fast background so then we can get to the good stuff.
Sure. You mean on how this project came to light? And
where have you been before this? Before you even got to Troubify, what have you successfully launched and accomplished?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a real quick background on me. So I've been a lifelong musician. In fact, from a family of musical virtuosos. The most famous being my auntie, who was the voice of Snow White from the Walt Disney Classic.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
And I moved to Hollywood in 1996 as a session guitarist, opened a studio off of Sunset, was very successful with that studio, became a Motown recording artist, played nightly with sometimes celebrities and Grammy Award winners. And I've been on hundreds and hundreds of songs, even almost 1,000, I think, total credits. And I was still a starving artist. I still wasn't living the life I wanted to live. And so I got into technology development, which was my second love. Founded a very innovative fintech company called Blast with Walter Cruttenden, founder of the iBank of E-Trade, Roth Capital, Acorns. And realized, understood technology development, understood what kind of services were available for technology. And over the years, I started doing a couple other companies. I did music.com with Pharrell Williams. I did a company called Influence, which has been rebranded since. It's an influencer engine for Amazon-owned Twitch. And then I did a data tech, an ad tech company as well. What I did is I realized that there are billions of dollars flowing into the music industry, And they're really not being captured and directed toward the artist. They're being captured and directed toward many other players. And the artist is the one who's generating these revenues by their original content or their copywritten content. And looking at all of these technologies, innovative revenue streaming, ad tech, data tech, music tech, micro-influencer tech. And I realized, geez, you know, we could actually knit these together into a single patchwork, if you will, and actually seamlessly integrate each of these pieces into a beautiful, simple user experience for artists. And that's what we've done. We've actually leveraged all of our experience and built a proprietary technology that allows the artist to finally monetize their music properly.
One of the things we've learned by having so many musicians on the show, like Sly Stone, hates lawyers, including his own. Because every time he wants to go do something and fight and get the money back, like he made this music, you know, like, yes, you need a system that helps you support it, push it out, promote it. But there would be no everyday people without him, you know? And so they don't pay him for decades. And then even like as he's about to get paid, he knows there's more fights coming in. He's like, I just hate my own lawyers. Because all they're doing is making that money that for that song is now paying them. And it just drives them crazy.
So there are two pieces, and this is why I think this system is so great for the music industry.
Okay.
One of those pieces is you have songwriting, publishing, and that's where a lot of these copyrights get caught up. But on the other hand, you have a lot of artists who do covers, and that is a huge component of giving relevance to songs that haven't been in the limelight in the past 10, 15 years, giving them new life. And so you have to find a way to reward both. You have to reward the publishers, you have to reward the songwriters, the original content creators, but then you also have to reward the up-and-comers who are covering those songs and producing their own takes on them because they create an entirely new life for an old song. And so there have been a lot of instances, especially with the viral nature of current media, mass media, where an old song has had a new life because someone's done a cover of it, or it appeared in someone's skateboarding down the street with an Ocean Spray drink. So that really does, Troubify will allow all pieces of that system to take advantage of it.
One of the things I've also learned is if you can, because we have cryptocurrencies, let's use that term. I don't mean specifically crypto in this case, but because we can look at and break down what value is and what's valuable, you know, like a mom raising kids is valuable, but we suck at paying that mom, you know, because there's not a system for it. So yeah, if you go out and you're a cover band and you play badass covers and you fill the bar full of people, you're only going to get revenue for that bar full of people, you know, maybe a portion of the gate. But you're also creating value for the Eagles and Led Zeppelin and Lynyrd Skynyrd and yourself because you're performing these things, which also creates value for the record company. But none of that value is realized. And what it sounds like is that you guys are creating a space where the distributor, the publisher, the artist, all of the artists all get paid. I mean, you get that mechanic royalty because you played a drum fill on this song. You can go and you can have 10,000 credits and you're like, I can't afford a car.
Totally.
Yeah. You know, because you got paid $50 for this session, or maybe they gave you, you know, something on the back end, and, you know, you don't control what happens with that stuff. You're really a fourth tier person in that payment scheme.
People do not understand the way that the musicians get paid.
Yeah.
Because some people think I have a couple of good credits and I must made bank on those, and that's not how it works. I got a one-time fee. I didn't get residuals on those sessions. Some of them I did, but most of them, you know, were one-time fees. And what we're doing is giving a fair deal to everyone. From the original songwriter to the publisher who now owns the rights to that song, to the up-and-coming 19-year-old artist from mom's living room who makes a Elvis song, you know, viable again, and all of a sudden he got a million views on it. That's money to the publishers. That's money to the artists. That's money to the Elvis estate or the copyright owner.
It's we had Natalie Dawn from Pomplamoose on the show, and they are mastered this. They take 2 songs at a time and they put them together, and they're so good at it. And then you put it on YouTube and you get paid a little bit of money, and Spotify and you get paid a little bit of money. But again, that value stops being paid out at a certain point. And what you guys are saying is that it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Okay.
And YouTube has even demonetized cover songs.
Yeah.
Because they're moving all those monies directly to the publisher, which is great for the publisher. But what about the artists that are, creating that content and making that song relevant for that publisher or artist?
Pamplemousse is a great example too, because they've written that article of like, hey, we went on the road with the fan base and came back in debt.
Oh,
Well,
and
speaking of them, I mean, Jack Conte was the one who created or partially
Patreon,
created
yeah.
Patreon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're looking for ways to monetize the huge followings that they were able to create, but not really monetize on some of those platforms where they created those followings.
I'm pretty critical of Patreon. I love the idea, but in my mind, it doesn't work because, and this is why I want to bring this to you guys, because this is where I'm going to push. Patreon is good for Patreon, right? And so when they go out and they raise funds, they say, look at our audience. It's 15 million people. Like, no. That's my audience and his audience and her audience and their audience. But they go out and they pimp your audience and then they change the rules. And that's when it really went bad. Like if you're going to interact, like I tell my clients, my fans that it's going to be like this. And then you guys come in and take more money out and change the rules. It hurts me, hurts my audience. And again, Patreon, the right idea, but how have you guys dealt with that? Because it's a clear problem. You can't go changing the rules, and you have to be mutually beneficial. You can't just raise money on the backs of somebody else's audience.
So this is what we're working on right now. So we're figuring out the pricing models. We need to make sure that it's fair across the board.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is, until we see how people are actually using it, we understand that there are some assumptions that we're going to have to make, and we may have to change the model.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is figure out that right price point and percentage split up so that it makes sense for everybody. And one of the things that is a big point that we go back and forth on a lot is it makes it difficult, because the challenge that we're facing is, do we take more up front and then loosen those purse strings when we see that the model works and we can afford to push more to the content creators, because that's an easier adjustment for them to take than going the other way around and trying to include them more on the front end, and if it doesn't work, kind of cut back some of that percentage, because that's going to be much more difficult to keep the original people who create or who make Troubify a success, to keep them happy. So we're struggling with that, and we're building all these financial models, but that's what we're working on right now. We understand that, and we need to make it fair.
And I'd like to add one thing. And so one of our core tenets is we're artist first.
Okay.
We make sure every player gets their fair cut, including the music publishers, everyone. But we are for the artist. Our ultimate responsibility is to make sure that those artists and their fans find the value that they think is fair and right. And so we really do approach these business models with what is the maximum we can pay out to the artist, and then how else does it trickle down to all the other players.
And if I can add on that, just to put an exclamation point on that thought, we've been in discussions with a lot of different groups, because as you can imagine, this is very complex and you have to work with a lot of publishers and copyrights and all these things. And so we're working with a company, and we put together our proposal, and they looked at it and they said, no, we don't think that this is right. We should get more. And, we understand where they're coming from. And they said, just cut it out of your cut that you're going to give to the artist. And Stephen,
no.
Yeah, Stephen said,
we always do that.
We understand your point. We're going to go back, look at our model, and we'll figure out how to make it work, giving you what you want, but not cutting it out of the artist's cut. So it's artist first. Stephen built this with that in mind, and so it is constantly balancing, what can we do to become megacorp, but not megacorp because it is a mutually beneficial system for all parties involved.
There's two things I want to ask about, and I think, well, let's continue on this thing, and then I'm going to come back. When you look at this model, you're putting the artist first. You're saying that the artist is valuable enough that we all can make plenty of money, you know, by doing this. In the past, because it was hard to break an artist out, you know, the big Sony or whatever capital, they have to invest a ton of money. And then as an entrepreneur, right, you get this, like these 97 people aren't going to pay the bills. Even if another 10% of them are successful musicians, there's a lot of bands you can think about. Modern English, they are not making a record label a lot of money, and they have a song that everybody knows, you know, so they've got to spread that risk out, and everybody's got to pay for that, including that top dog musician. You're saying that if we can focus on this other end of it, get the artist paid first, the money will flow out from that engine.
Well, yeah, and also, so you bring up another good point, which is there are literally millions of amazing music artists.
Right.
When I was 12 years old and I was playing Eddie Van Halen behind my back, literally,
Yes. Yeah.
I thought I'm the greatest guitar player in the world. Who else can do this? And I believed that for a little bit until I started gigging, and then I moved to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Hollywood and I was gigging, everyone was rock star status. Even the guy that was playing the four people in the Starbucks, he was still like a rock star, like in my mind. He was amazing. So I realized
the guy doing the sound check is fucking your guitar up better than you can.
Yeah, he's doing better than, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's these amazing artists all over the world. What I realized though is that how many of them really get the opportunity to shine? How many of them get the opportunity to become an actual artist and thereby not only monetize their music, but create viable revenue streams for publishers and promoters and all these other players? Mm-hmm. It's very, very few. Mm-hmm. However, Troubify changes that because now there's no barrier to entry other than having a smartphone. Right. You hop onto your iPhone or your Android device, you download the app for free, you smash that go live button, and you go live. Yeah. And you broadcast to the world. And guess what? If people tip you, people become your patrons, you earn the highest industry payouts per view, you're making money now on your music. And if we see, so Troubify also is a rich data engine too. We see a lot of data. Right. We can determine up and coming artists who week after week have a little more, traction by their users, a little more, few more people follow them every day. Yeah. There more people on their stream. They're generating more revenue. Mm-hmm. Imagine the attractiveness to a major record label now to watch an 18 or 19-year-old kid who's growing 20% in week over week revenue and user and fan growth.
Yeah. And I think another point on that, so you were calling out how, yes, the record labels used to have to take this risk because there are all sorts of expenses to break an artist. The thing about a platform like Troubify is you spread that out and you have, at scale, it makes sense because as an artist, what everybody's looking for is, I just need the shot, right? Yeah. The machine's keeping me down. Right. But if you give that equal opportunity to everybody and they're able to go out and market themselves, they have the marketable talent, they have something that other people want to consume, then it truly is up to them to prove it. They get on the platform, they play, and then at scale, when you have tens of thousands of people that do it at that level that can find their audience, even if that audience is a few hundred people, that's a few hundred fans for tens of thousands of artists, where at a record label, you need one artist that has millions and millions of fans. So that's where the change is in the paradigm.
So these smaller audiences become a lot more profitable. And I'm thinking about, and you'll remember these days, Sunset Strip, playing clubs, and if you wanted to make it, I mean, that's how Van Halen made it. That's how Motley Crue made it. These bands went out there, and then there were the bands that almost made it, and they're the same. But one band, for whatever reason, has that good thing on that one night, and the one person loves them, and bam, it catches fire. So we had a guy named Phil on the show, and he was from a band called Cry Wolf, and they made it in Japan, but not enough to sustain a life and have kids and everything else, right? So they were really good on the Strip, but they were always going to be lower on the ticket. And so what it sounds like is that you can actually have an audience in Japan. You don't have to necessarily be in Japan all the time, and you can be more discoverable because you're able to get through the machine a little bit and you can stand on your own merit. One of the other problems with Patreon was just people would say, oh, just go to Patreon, you'll make a bunch of money. Like, no, it's another business. Now I have to get people to go to Patreon, break off $5 every month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you need 20,000 people to do that. And then Patreon doesn't help you. Matter of fact, they go, hey, have you seen this great show that's already made it and already has 20,000 people? You should listen to that. And you're like, well, what about me? Put my banner up there so that I have a shot at competing. I mean, you guys have this. So how do you guys reckon with that? How do you, because one of the biggest problems in all this podcasting, any kind of live streaming thing is, each chasm you have to get over, right? Like, so I can get to 50 people by myself, but can I get to 1,000 people? And nobody seems to understand how to help. And hey, I know you can't see me on this side of this chasm, but if you get a 10-foot pole and jump, you will make it. You get an 8-foot pole, you're done, right? So how do we deal with that gap clearing problem?
So that is going to be a challenge. Like there's going to be a level of effort that people will have to put into it to market it and try and get people on. We are working on all of our algorithms to try and find those right audiences for every mark of music. So where some just look at how an artist performs and how well they do in their genre, we are looking at multiple facets. We'll be looking at how the artist performs, what their quality is, but then we are also going to match that on the fan side with a tolerance level. So what level of quality they're looking for, so that we can match those audiences to those fans artists.
And kind of just put that real simply, there are a lot of fans of lo-fi productions. My daughter doesn't really care. She's 20 years old. She likes the 1975, The Weekend, The Neighborhood, all these, right? Frank Ocean. She doesn't like these big multi-million-dollar productions. She likes the band that's in there, in the rehearsal studio jamming out, and it can be a little grainy, or even they use these lo-fi drum sounds intentionally in $1 million studios. So there's a whole market for people that would rather see artists live and raw and real and uncensored than, and then there's other artists or fans that would prefer a really well-polished production. And those are both available on Troubify now, which is what's really so exciting, that every artist gets a chance to stand on their stage.
John, who's the co-founder of the show, co-host, he talks about the time he went to NAMM. And, for those that don't know NAMM is 100,000 people all over the Anaheim Convention Center. And it is crazy. And so you'll see some side stage, or you'll be like in, Cavern B, booth 15, and it's some string company you've ever heard. And you're like, Eddie Van Halen walks up and he's like, why don't I jam? And so John's literally in some sidebar, and it's just Eddie and some other dude. I can't remember the other dude's name, but he's somebody huge. And they're just going crazy, and that performance happened, and it wasn't really recorded because it was before cell phones. No one got any value out of that. It sounds like what you're saying is that your favorite band is in the studio. And one of the things we've learned too, is that the biggest leaps, the most exciting things are done in practice. You don't take those leaps because you're playing the album. Play the album in the way that we want to do it within this show. And it's wonderful, but it's confined. But if you get in the studio, magic happens. That's how one happens. They're playing a song and noodling, and then all of a sudden you have Mysterious Ways, and one breaks out for you too. Two different things for the same session.
So I'm glad you said that, because what we've also known, and we know as fans ourselves, because every musician's also a fan, we love to consume content of our favorite artists behind the scenes. We want to see them rehearse. We want to see the backstage after party after they walk off the stage and say, good night, Los Angeles. Right? We want to see that. Well, Troubify now offers you that inside look, that glimpse. You can go backstage with the artist. You can go to the rehearsals. You can go to the recording studio. You can join the writing session if an artist wants. And people would say, well, why would an artist want to expose that side of them? Well, they can monetize those engagements now. Imagine being able to sell tickets to your rehearsals if you're the Rolling Stones, or it doesn't even have to be the Rolling Stones. You can have a 10,000 person following. There are people that would pay $5 to come tour your studio and watch you record your next song live.
So you're talking about, because there's a lot of different kinds of artists now, especially producers really are artists in and of themselves. A friend of the show is Dave Audet. Madonna says, here's my latest song, make a dance track. And so he's got 130 plus number one. He doesn't even count them anymore. Number one dance track hits, you know, so U2, Taylor Swift, all the biggest names in the world. And so he comes in and does his all day thing on there. I mean, all you have to do is type in all day mix on YouTube and there's a zillion things, but he doesn't get paid like he could because Trubify is like, hey, there's actual value here and we know how to get you paid for it.
Do you want to speak about the band on demand feature?
Sure. So we're building a feature that will allow producers who, I have a bunch of friends who are producers. They're incredible musicians, but they don't perform. They don't like the limelight. That's not their thing. So we're building a feature that will allow producers to create backing tracks and put them up. So we understand in the beginning, it's probably going to be a lot of cover songs.
Yeah.
And then artists will be able to find a cover version that they like and then sing over the top of that. And then they will split the revenue on that stream with the producer. So we're working out ways to get those producers paid, even if they don't perform.
And that could actually spawn a lot of really interesting collaborative creation. So imagine a heavy metal artist that says, I'm going to do a cover version instrumental of Justin Bieber's Baby.
Yeah.
And it's out there and it's on Trubify. And if you want to use it, you're the artist and you're a heavy metal singer, you want to sing a heavy metal version of Baby, that might be the one that goes viral and gets 1 million hits because it's so out of the box.
Yeah.
So the collaboration that we open up on Trubify, it's amazing. And it's not just going into the LA Weekly looking for, or Craigslist looking for collaborators.
Yeah.
You can have collaborators around the whole country and potentially the world.
Yeah, right.
One of the things that I truly hope that this does, though, over the past 15, 20 years, production quality has really defined what music is.
Okay.
And production quality has gotten better and better, but it's almost squeezing the life out of songs. People don't want to play live. They don't want to actually perform because they don't have their autocorrect and they may be off time a little bit. And some of those things are things that I really enjoyed about listening to music in the 90s and listening to dynamics. You listen to a song and between the quiet part and the loud part, it actually had an ebb and flow to the song. And you listen to a song today, and if you look at it on a spectrum analyzer, it's pegged the entire song.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to bring some dynamics back into performance and bring some of the life back into performance.
Totally.
If you're young and you don't know, listen to Hot Fun in the summertime. Nobody's on time on purpose.
Yeah.
It's just too hot to be on time, you know? Just get there. And yeah, it's interesting when you think about all of these different dynamics. It gets the brain going. We got to pay the bills. What does an artist get paid? I mean, what does this look like?
So the artists will be able to receive tips. So it's whatever they can generate on tips.
Sure. Got to have a tip jar.
Yes.
Yep.
We're building a ticketing feature that will allow them to create ticketed shows, and they can name their price.
Right.
So if they feel that they can get $5, $20, whatever they
do they got to cut a piece of that to Live Nation as well? Is that part of the deal, or
no? So all of this is going to be within Trubify. Troubify will take a percentage.
Okay.
And then publishers will take a percentage.
Gotcha. Okay.
With that, we are building tools within that system that will allow certain artists to actually benefit from a ticketed show, even if they don't feel like they can. So they can actually create a name your price ticket where someone can come in for free, but name your price if you think there's value to it.
Right.
But then also we are building a system that will pay out automatically 1 cent for every view on an archive and 2 cents for every view on a live stream.
What is a view?
A view, we're calling a view a true view, and that would be a unique user watching their stream for a minute.
Okay, for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it go up if they stay for the full 3.5 minutes, or is it?
It's just a standard.
So once you're over the bar, you're over the bar.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to actually talk about one of our most innovative and captivating revenue streams And that is that we have built some micro influencer technology into the app.
Okay.
What that allows is for artists now, they don't have to be Justin Bieber or Dave Matthews.
Right.
They can be everyday artists.
Yeah, those guys know how to make money.
Those guys have enough revenue streams. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's what, so people often say that. They say, how is Taylor Swift going to use your platform? And I said, well, it's not really built for Taylor Swift. It's she can use the platform, she can monetize, she can engage her fans, but we're building it for the other 99% of artists, or 99.999% of artists.
Right.
And the celebs will come along and use them too. In fact, we've been talking to several celebs and they love it.
Yeah.
But we're really trying to help the little guy here very much so as well, and not leave him out. So the micro-influencer component, this is what's neat. We can look at all the artists that we see exceed a certain threshold of quality.
Right.
And we find those artists that are playing Fender guitars.
Yeah.
And we say, hey, you already own a Fender. Fender wants to spend some money on brand awareness, getting impressions out there. They're willing to pay you a couple cents per stream if you choose to use that Fender guitar that you have over the Gibson and the Taylor that you have.
So your own guitar, you don't have to go buy a guitar.
You don't have to go buy a guitar, So there's all sorts of micro-influencer campaigns, and it's not just music brands, it's lifestyle brands. For example, Nike wants to pay you 3 cents to wear a Nike hat when you're streaming your Beatles cover songs. You have 100,000 followers. You have 1,000 followers. Oh, wait, you only have 100 followers. Guess what? You can still wear that Nike hat and monetize, even with 10 followers. Right. If you're good, if you're a good artist. Right. So that's a whole nother marketable revenue stream to these artists. The ability to pick up or wear or have your Coca-Cola on your stream and earn a couple extra cents per viewer.
Let me see if I got this right. So counting revenue streams, there's the archive spin for 1 cent. There's the live stream for 2 cents. There's ticketing for things. It sounds like there's a patronage element to it as well.
Yes.
There's another one I forgot. Tipping, right? The tip jar. Yeah. So that's 5. And now you can get major brands.
Major brands. You can
want to support your use of their brand, and you don't have to say, "Hey, this is Coca-Cola." It's kind of like influence.
Just like influence. You don't have to be going, "Hey guys, I love my Coca-Cola." All you got to do is have the Coca-Cola right there in the frame, because that's a brand impression, and they see you sipping it in between your songs, right?
So that's 6, and I've not.
And there's a merchandise portal.
Okay.
So artists will be able to load up their name, their band, their logo, their pictures, and we can print on demand and drop ship for these artists. Right. Anything from posters, mugs, T-shirts, whatever they'd like to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 7 things right there.
So like what we like to say is, and there's actually more, but what we like to say is it's an all-encompassing concierge service for the artist. It's a digital concierge for the artist, managing the business demands for them and their revenue streams in the background of their life. Yeah. So the artist focuses on delivering the world-class performance and engaging their fans, whether it's fulfilling song requests or chit-chatting or showing them the guitar when a fan asks, what model is that? Yeah. What are those pickups? They sound so cool. Yeah. Artists can now monetize in multiple ways. And I guess it's also worth saying, so we don't overwhelm any of our artist listeners, artists don't have to do all of these things. It's an a la carte product offering. They pick and choose those streams that work for their fans and for their personalities and genres.
So someone like J.R. Robinson, who's a world-class drummer, plays all kinds of events. I mean, he's the most recorded drummer in history. You know, COVID hits, he's not playing live. That's how he makes his money. So he can, in theory, do a series of drum lessons. And then he could charge, I wouldn't be necessarily a ticketing thing, but he could say $150 a lesson. And you can go in and he's like, here's how you do whatever.
Or he says $1.99 a lesson and he sells 1,000 units.
Right.
So there's different ways. So that's another magic of Trubify. We've made the finance system completely modular so that each artist chooses the way they want to monetize. Right. So for example, if you're a teacher, and we have music teachers that are going to be teaching on the platform, you can offer live one-on-one lessons for $150 an hour, which is a professional rate. That's what a professional vocal teacher would get, even up to $250 an hour. Right. They could offer a group lesson where they say it's $25 a ticket, join the group, and they can limit it to 5 or 10 or 100. They have the ability to limit how many tickets are sold, so they can control that size. They can say it's open to all, and I want to just do it for donation or tips only, right? Or they can produce lessons on Troubify, put them into the lessons archive, and charge $1.99 to download, or not download, but to access that lesson and sell them in volume. So they can choose the revenue monetization strategies that work best for their audience, because a more established artist can charge upfront $10, $20 fees all day long, but an up and coming artist may want to do it for free with a compensation like a tip or something.
Right.
And we were talking with one of the artists that we're bringing onto the platform. I forget which one, but it was one of the higher tier artists, and he does private lessons on his own. And so when we started to explain how everything worked and how all the money flowed, he was saying, oh, wait a second. So I can teach people on Troubify how to play my songs. They can do covers of my songs, and I will get residual payments because they're doing covers of my songs on the platform. And we said, yeah, they will. You will.
They have something like that on Ultimate Guitar where you can pay extra money to watch somebody show you like the lesson. And you're saying,
imagine the artist himself teaching you.
And getting paid because he wrote the song.
And getting paid because he wrote the song. That's exactly it. So it's all encompassing. So I won't say who. We actually have a celebrity artist that we're talking to. And he has a huge back catalog. And some of his songs are no longer current and they're hits. So he could go and teach those songs. And if 100 artists go and perform and publish that song on Trubify, not only are those 100 artists making money on so is that original artist.
I'm looking at, so a lot of people don't know who Bryce Vine is, right? But in the modern day, and we love him, he's been on the show, he's a friend. His #1 song on Spotify listed has 133 million spins. And people don't even know who this guy is. He plays very small venues. He doesn't even play like a theater like the Wiltern, because he's young, not there yet. But he's got 133 million spins. What does that equal in terms of Troubify money? And how much is that he get to keep?
So that's a little tricky to calculate, and I'll explain why. I can give you some ballpark figures, but I want to be, so one of the core tenets of Troubify is we believe in ethical business practices. It's really important to us because we're artists first. Brian was a founder of a record label. I was in Hollywood playing up and down the strip. We get it. And so because of that, artists can monetize in various ways. So let's use that example. Let's say 100 million views, 100 million plays. So depending on how the artist uses the platform, they may have accepted tips. They may have sold tickets to some of those events. They may have performed micro-influencer campaigns. They may have done those songs with their Nike hats or their Fender guitars. On the per view payouts, we have a system in place so that we prevent people from robbing the system, which would shut the product down, and therefore we're back to square one. Artists can't monetize. So the first thing we do is we validate each of those views to make sure that bots aren't, people aren't writing bot scripts to rob from the artist and from the publishers and through Troubify. Every validated view, a true view, earns 1 cent if it was a archive or 2 cents for a live. So assuming that those were all valid views, he would earn $1 million in archive views if he was to have 100 million.
At least, because he could have got tips.
At least on top of his tips, on top of his tickets, on top of his micro-influencer component.
Where does that money come from? Whereas $1 million for 100 million spins, who is paying for? I get tickets, I get tipping, I get all that, but
yes. So there's there's 3 main players that are providing that money. One is the brands. Okay, so we've integrated 2 different ad tech software components inside of Troubify. So if you have a pre-roll ad, like a YouTube 6-second ad that plays, you can watch the 30-second ad. That's one revenue stream, and we're actually handing over 100% of that to the artist. Troubify doesn't even take a cut on that. In fact, it's our loss leader. We're actually paying out greater than 100% on that ad revenue. So and that's where those monies are coming from. So where is that extra money coming from that we're paying out? That comes from our brand sponsors. So we have brands that we're working with. It could be anything from a micro-influencer campaign to a brand that wants to sponsor a stream or a streamer. And even further on down the road, now this is future technology, but I think it's exciting and interesting to talk about. Brands can sponsor engagement too. Like imagine saying, not just tip your artist, but buy him a cheese pizza. So Pizza Hut wants to come along and sponsor a stream for a up-and-coming artist that's growing phenomenally. They can offer a feature for fans to buy him pizzas.
Right.
I know it sounds a little silly, but it's really not when you think about the mechanic involved.
Yeah.
Because it incentivizes the artist to get on and stream, and it incentivizes the fan to encourage. And some fans may prefer to do something like this. So now that aside, there was another part of the question I wanted to address.
Well,
Which one was it?
Ad tech.
Oh, the ad tech. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So there's a third player that's sponsoring these streams. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The record labels.
Okay.
So why are the record labels helping too? Because the record labels want to be able to predict who the next big star is.
Right.
And Troubify is going to have deep engagement metrics on every artist. What songs they're playing, their percentage of covers to originals, how people are tipping, how fans are liking or commenting or sending the love.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another way that we can pad those high artist payouts to the artist. The record labels, you can name, everyone knows who the majors are.
Yeah.
They all want to know who is going to be the next big thing because they want record deals with these people.
There's also, I would imagine, the ability to, well, for sure this exists with tech, but you can look at what parts of a song get played the most. Like, oh man, they really love this drum roll, and that can influence artistry from there too. Will you guys pass along some of this information to artists to say, hey, you're overproducing, under or whatever?
I'm glad you said that because I want to address this directly with the viewers on the show. So we did not build a data tech software so that we can go and sell this to the music publishers. In fact, it was actually an aftersight. We built the data tech piece for the artists. The whole reason for the data tech was so that we could have, we call them Fantalytics. We can have a Fantalytic dashboard that shows when you play cover songs, this is your engagement level and your revenue streams. When you play original songs, this is your revenue streams. When you play at 7 p.m. on a weekend, this is how it compares to a Saturday at 11 a.m. And then we can even get more granular and say when you're playing an electric guitar versus an acoustic guitar, when you're playing Jimi Hendrix cover songs versus Ed Sheeran cover songs, there's going to be extremely deep Fantalytics for the artists so that they can maximize their monetization opportunities. That's the magic. And when we did that, the publisher we're talking with actually said, oh, we would like to know who the next big artist is going to be before they break. Would you be able to provide us who this person is? And at first we stepped back and we thought, and then we realized artist first philosophy. We're going to help the artists to scale their careers. Justin Bieber was discovered on YouTube, as everyone knows. Well, there are people who are just as talented as Justin Bieber who don't get noticed. But Troubify, through data engagement, can be able to, with a high degree of accuracy, say these 10 people are likely to be the next big things because every week they are growing 20% in monetization and in engagement.
It's so many questions I have right now. This one is because of COVID and because okay, maybe we can start to have some live events, right? But it seems like you could put a Trubify stream up and you could, for those of you who are terrified, aren't regional, in general, sure, if you should say do that, you can attend this piano bar that Billy Joel is going to do. So it's $2,000 a ticket, or you can go on Trubify and spend whatever, $1,500 and watch the virtual version. And so a Hollywood Bowl can put on a concert that's lightly attended to keep things also potentially attended by people.
So we were actually approached by a world famous theater. The negotiation isn't complete, so I won't mention the name. A world famous theater in Southern California. And they actually said, hey, we're in trouble because we can't open our doors. We don't have shows. And even when the county allows them to open again, they're going to be serving at 25% capacity, which barely keeps the lights on with all the 30 stagehands and security crew. And they approached us and they said, can you guys fill the gap? Could you guys sell the other 75% of the audience digitally, remotely? And we said, we can sell 750% capacity. We could sell 7,000% capacity because we can scale to thousands of users. So we're actually working right now with this theater to bring on some really top tier artists and to allow them to reopen their doors at 25% capacity and to sell virtual tickets around the United States, which also helps to keep the theater alive. And actually, the theater, again, is world renowned. And so they'll also have supporters that even just want to keep the theater doors open. It's an opportunity for them to fundraise, if you will, to help them float.
Yeah.
But we're giving something in return. We're giving them a world-class performance from top artists.
Yeah, and again, I saw at Hollywood Bowl, I guess 2 years ago now, they did like the 30th anniversary of Little Mermaid, and it's great. It rained, and so like while they were showing rain on the screen, like it's really rain, and it's rain. So like we were getting wet, but like no one was mad about it. But you had all these great artists, you know, local people that sing and everything. They came up and they sang the songs, and so in the Troubify world, yes, you're getting paid for that gig to come up and sing. I think Leah Michelle was one of the singers. You know, they had all these people. They brought them up and you know took them off stage, but so they get their per gig that Hollywood Bowl, but also the artist who wrote the song and all those people are getting paid now. If right now it's hard to buy pumpkin puree in stores because someone decided there was a COVID thing and it's fall, and so you can't buy pumpkin. When you show up to Fender and say, "Hey, this went viral. You owe us $250 million," what are they going to say?
Well, it's going to be like any other ad tech where you set limits. And,
Sure. Okay. So
yeah.
there'll be a breaker.
They have an insertion order. The brand says, we want to spend $100,000 to acquire this many eyeballs.
Right.
And then the technology delivers that many impressions for that many eyeballs. And then it turns it off and it says, Fender, do you want to, you know, run another campaign?
Right.
So the brands would never get hit with a surprising bill. And by the way, all of these campaigns are built in conjunction with these brands. We don't just throw them up there.
Right.
We work intimately with the brands and find the right artists and find the right audiences so that they can guarantee their best value on investment.
Right. So when Libby's like, "Hey, we can't make cans of pumpkin fast enough," you guys are like, "It's all right. You know, we didn't go over that." Okay, makes sense.
Right.
What I was thinking also about like producers when they bring people into studio. You know, that time you could have two lives going, like the microphone live or the drum or whatever, plus also the behind the booth thing. Can you have multiple accounts running and feeding into the funnel?
You can have multiple cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the app is available in its minimum viable product. It's only the core functionality. This is not the whole enchilada here.
Right.
Okay, we're just testing the platform itself. It's available right now on iOS in the Apple App Store and on Android in the Google Play Store.
Okay.
And you're able to plug in any third-party class-compliant devices into your phone, just like you would if you wanted to use an external microphone or anything like that.
Sure.
We are also building right now, which will be soon released, a web portal.
Okay.
Which will allow larger artists or artists that want higher production value to do a multi-camera shoot with switchers and special effects, and they can do zoom-ins. They can do as world-class of a production as they wish, or it could be as simple as just broadcasting right from your phone's internal microphone and speaker. So yes, they can run multiple cams, and actually we have some proprietary. We have some intellectual property that's being worked on right now to allow fan-driven cameras.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So imagine a band putting up multi-camera shoots and allowing the fans, each of them, to choose the camera angle that they wish to view.
Interesting.
So if I'm a guitar player, I may want to watch the guitar player's fingers. I can watch that camera.
Yeah.
But Brian's a drummer, so he wants to watch the drummer.
Yeah.
And each artist could potentially choose their own.
So you could do your own technical direction.
You could do your own technical direction, for example.
Yes. And grab whatever. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because sometimes you want to see like Kirk Gibson hits that home run, but where's the camera on Dennis Eckersley when he's like,
right?
You know, like you want to see that, right?
So you know what's interesting? So I'm a big fan of a lot of artists. Mm-hmm. Because I've studied so many of the artists that I love, when I go to shows, I can't tell you how often I'm watching the band.
Yeah.
I'm watching the drummer. I'm seeing how he's locking in with the bass player and how they're both watching John Mayer.
Yeah.
And they're watching for his. So there is a definite interest in an engagement level beyond what we're familiar with, right? Yeah. It's usually, here's the singer front and center, and that's what you get. And then they do some panoramas. But I think it's so cool to let the let the fan, engage the way they want to engage. Well, watch the music the way you want to watch it.
And the market is going to evolve and create new things as everybody's like, oh, I could do this. And the creative people are going to create revenue streams on top of what's there. Like it seems like, just you guys can be, I got an idea right here. So my friends over at Charity on Top, right? They, like building a system where you can always add charities. You can give it straight as a gift card. Here's charity for you. You don't need me to buy you a toaster, Steve. You've got one. I'm not here. I don't care where you give it to, but that's $50 for charity. You can do it so there's not even a card and all that stuff. Something like that could be layered right on top. Where you're like, hey, every artist has a charity, so you can say you don't have to do any accounting as the fan and Charity on Top does this. Like if I'm going to give you that $50 card, I can pay the transaction fee, so that literally you giving a check to the charity is more expensive than me doing it through Charity on Top, because they've got to run to the bank and they've got to, all that time spent processing all those things. So is there a function like that already built in, or?
It's not built in yet.
Okay.
But it's funny. So I'm glad you brought that up too. We're talking with a very famous artist, and we said, hey, we have the highest per view payouts. And he said, I don't need that. He said, we have tickets, we have tips, we have Patreon. He goes, he's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
We said, but would you do a show if the proceeds could get donated to your favorite charity? And he said, yes, that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So we will build out eventually some sort of integration where you can choose your favorite charities and you can run a stream and you can actually designate it's just this stream that I want to donate. Tonight, Friday night, I'm donating to American Cancer Society or something like that.
So I guess this also works at charity benefits and galas. And so like we're going to do this for the Pacific Symphony.
Exactly.
And we're going to do an event, and so you can add value on top of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah. We have an organization right now actually that's running a charity. It's a little too early for us, but they approached us and they said, we want to stream music. It's a music production crew, and they would love to stream it and do their whole charity funding through there. It's a little early. We don't have that technology piece in yet.
And other artists too. So obviously producers and record companies and musicians. I get all that, but it seems like stand-up comedians, you don't have to fill a theater because you can't right now. You can do that. Obviously podcasts. All these different people that do live streaming on Instagram. I mean, you literally are doing it for free.
Yeah.
You get no value out of that.
Yeah.
So you're saying we can change these things.
Yeah. We so right now we are very focused on the music performance side of it, because that is our focus.
Right.
But we are going to be opening lifestyle channels to allow people who want to share these other things, like a podcast.
Yeah.
By the way, these are all completely synergistic with music.
Right.
You have so many celebrity music artists on your show.
Yeah.
They should be on Trubify.
And honestly, we don't play music because the robot will flag it, and now I've got to spend an hour dealing with it. And I may never resolve it, and I may have to take that show down.
That's the problem that's one of the many problems that Trubify is solving. Real world problems for streamers like you, content creators like you.
Yeah.
If you use someone's music, if you have one of these artists stream a song, you say, hey, play me something. Well, YouTube's going to demonetize it or pull it down or whatever.
Let me break in and say this, and let's talk straight to I literally can have you are the writer of this song, but because of your label, they will say, you can't use that because the robot says no. And I'll say, no, I literally have the artist on the show. Give me permission. And then you have to have someone go through, and then they have to, it takes forever.
It's a well-known problem on YouTube that even celebrities who play their own songs get booted. They get shut down.
And we don't got time for that. No. I can't manage all that stuff. I need to have a solution that allows me to do that. So
that's part of the concierge service. We manage the licensing and the royalty payments for any of those songs. That's right.
What if you're just someone who, you aren't even worried about being a micro influencer? You're a musician. I'm waiting to get called by, whoever, Lauryn Hill, when she goes on the road, and she always hires me. Or, it's like, I just produce stuff for other people. I don't know anything about this. I love it, but I don't have time for all that. But I do want to make it paid.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question there.
The person is like, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I don't care about audience, but I want to get paid.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
right? Like they're focused on the art, and it's tech, and it's confusing. And my job is to play CAB over and over again and do it well. So
we are this goes back to the band on demand feature that Brian was referring to.
Right.
Band on demand allows artists, producers, or for example, there's a lot of people that they only play guitar and they're phenomenal, but they can't do anything else but play G, C, and D chords.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have a portal where artists can collaborate and create backing tracks for artists who can take it to the next level and publish a finished piece of work. So there's going to be this huge collaborative forum inside of Troubify where artists are going to get together. So you'll have a bass player in Nashville, and you're going to have a guitarist in Los Angeles and a singer in Florida. And they're going to be like, hey guys, let's create something that we can monetize, because me as a singer, no one wants to see me a cappella. No one wants to see you just strumming C and G and D. And no one wants to hear you banging on the drums all day. But if the three of us put that together, we can monetize and split those revenues. So that's something that's really interesting, is that artists don't have to be the singer-songwriters that can play the guitar and sing and do everything. They can just have they can play the triangle and collaborate on that track and still earn some revenue.
I like to fuck up the fish with the stick. Just get crazy with it. Am I hearing you say that there's a marketplace for session people that are like, I don't care about that?
There's a gig economy and a market for session
Phil
musicians.
Q. Like, who the hell's Phil Q? I don't know, but he fucks the guitar up.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a place where like, hey, we want, Phil X is busy. We'll take Phil Q. And he destroys on the guitar. And so that's the guy we want. And he can get hired and get paid potentially for his mechanic royalty and all that?
Yes. So back in the old days, in the mid-90s when I was in Hollywood, I don't remember the name of the service. It wasn't Taxi. Maybe Brian might know. There was a service where you paid like $199 as a musician, and you had like 1 minute. You would call in on a telephone.
Yeah.
And it says, record your demo after the beep, beep, and you played the best 1 minute of your guitar playing ever.
Yeah.
And then you add a tag, and you say like rock and roll, electric guitar, distortion, whatever it is. And then artists who were looking to hire musicians would go onto this phone service and listen through 1,000 rock and roll guitar artists and find the guy that he likes and reach out. It was a paid service.
Yeah.
Well, that service I don't even think that service is available anymore.
Yeah.
But imagine now being able to go onto Trubify. I'm a guitarist, and I can do a 1 or 2 minute demo of my guitar playing.
Yeah.
And I can let it marinate.
Yeah.
And I can let people know, hey, I'm for hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really an interesting thing. You can find also bandmates. There's a lot we're not getting into Trubify because we want to keep it very focused.
Sure.
So it doesn't get confusing. But artists will have the ability to even collaborate in person locally. So artists have the ability, if they choose, to mention where their location is. And they can look for other artists within a certain mile radius who are looking to form a band or collaborate or write together.
So, and again, I keep thinking about these things because it just generates more thoughts. That small theater that it cannot survive right now really can say, we're going to start doing one person plays or whatever. And then you can reach out to almost any actor and say, would you like to act for basically this process? And we'll see if we can build it. A theater can actually be a Trubify account and say, hey, the State Theater on First Street features whoever, this actor, and they're going to do the monologue from Jaws or whatever.
That is correct. A theater can have their own account. The Grand Ole Opry can have their Grand Ole Opry Trubify account. And if they have the rights to stream those out, they can earn those revenues. They can split them with the artists that play.
Yeah.
That's between the theater and the artist. But we are creating viable revenue streams for every single player in the music industry. Even a music studio, even a rehearsal studio, even a recording studio.
Right.
In fact, we have an artist. I don't know if I can say his name right now. He's a signed Trubify artist. He's a very well-known artist, and he's going. It's Pete Turner. He's going into the studio next week to record a couple of songs for his new album, and he's taking Trubify with him, and he's going to broadcast from the studio live him recording his next hit songs.
So the producer Dave Auday, let's say he's sitting there, he's not signed, he's sitting there and he's playing U2 song and he's kind of bringing different sounds in, and he's bringing in multiple ideas that are licensed work. Is the computer able to sort out like what's there, or how do they track all that? So
we do have a tech solution that is not implemented yet.
Right.
So really quick I'm hoping that artists are going to be watching this show, and I want to kind of speak a little bit to the artist here. Please understand that the way technology development works, it's a process. And we are able to raise money from investors and other artists that want to see better outcomes for other musicians. And we can't build it all at once. We're actually a very small team, and we're building it one component at a time. That said, we will have the ability to let the technology listen to the song and identify that content. Right now, our earliest adopters are going to have to manually add, if they do a cover song or if they included a cover song work,
Right.
hey, I did Let It Be by the Beatles.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure the Beatles get paid.
Nice.
We'll also validate that on our end as well to make sure that people are submitting their proper tags.
Yeah.
But the onus will not be on the burden will not be on the artist to do that in the near future.
I just have one big question left for you guys, and Brian, I'm going to start with you. You always hear you hear these great ideas and everything else, and then someone will say, "What's the special sauce? What's the special sauce about this? YouTube already has a bazillion people. Spotify has a bazillion people. Why? What's special about this?"
Well, I think it's changing the paradigm. It's combining a lot of pieces that may not be totally unique. There are a few unique pieces within Troubify, but it's combining all those pieces into one platform. But it's also allowing people to monetize off of their work. So that's the secret sauce. You incentivize people to create content. The more content that's created, the more we all benefit from, as long as you don't have one person taking advantage of everybody. So when you go to YouTube and you want to do your cover song, which your covers get far more play than your originals on YouTube. Yeah. You don't make any money on that. Yeah. But you'll make money on our platform.
What about from the artist side? Special sauce.
Special sauce from the artist side. From the artist side. I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, what? I've got a Parler account. I've got a Minds account. I got a Twitter account. I got a YouTube account. I run out of gas.
Yeah. So
why am I going to add another one of these things to my life?
Well, the very basic answer goes back to what Brian said, which is you're going to make a lot more money on Troubify. Right. But secondly, though, you don't have to always work multiple platforms. So my question to you, Pete, is if you're working multiple platforms, if you could make just as much or more money working a single platform, would you want to use that platform?
It's hard for me to work all those platforms.
It's very hard to work all the platforms. And by the way, we're not suggesting that people leave their existing platforms. We don't want that. We want you to continue to engage your audiences. But over time, as your fans realize that, so here's a value add to the artist. Here it is. Your fans don't have to go to 5 different places. Yeah. Your fans don't have to go to Patreon to give you a patronage. Your fans don't have to go to YouTube to watch the stream. Right. Your fans don't have to go to Twitter to get your Venmo or your PayPal to send you $5 because they want to support you. Right. Your fans can now interact with you live in a live chat. Yes. Your fans can have exclusive content that you want to gate out or you want to deliver live. Yeah. And there's a lot of other aspects. Here's another one. Ready for this one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Because I actually have a lot of different answers and I'm trying to kind of streamline it. So this is something that none of those platforms do. As an artist, could you imagine being able to set a threshold that says when X% of my fans are live on the platform, message me? So right now, a lot of times, if one of your Instagram guys goes live or something, it says Pete Turner's live. Yeah. But what would you like to get a notification that says 5 to 1% of your fans are live right now on a platform looking to consume content? Yeah. That would encourage me to go and pick up my guitar, go live, and then all my fans that are already there go, oh, Steve is live. Yeah. Let's jump on Steve's stream. We love Steve.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of pieces that is secret sauce to Troubify that no other platform's doing. And there's probably more that I really don't want to get into because I think we're exposing too much of the secret sauce. But I would say come over to Troubify, watch us grow as we're launching every other week these new features and revenue streams for artists. And you play with it as the artist and you discover the secret sauce because there's not a single secret sauce. It's literally, again, this a la carte buffet of secret sauces, and you pick and choose those that work for you.
Hardest question of the whole thing: how do you get people to come to that platform? I know we kind of talked around it, but I mean, that literally, you have the chicken, you have the egg, and sometimes you go, God dang, that egg is so big. I don't know how it's going to get out of this chicken. What do we do? How do we get people to move there? It's hard for me to move my audience.
That is probably the biggest challenge or hurdle, or one of them that we had to face. And we have a great answer for that. Brian, would you like to go or would you like me to go? Happy either way.
Sure. So we're working with A&R reps. So we have artist relationship reps, and they're bringing over certain artists that we've identified are kind of on brand with Troubify that have the right size following. And with this first group of artists, we are working with them and helping them figure out the best ways to port over their audiences. We also have a bottom-up approach where we are creating marketing campaigns, and we're just going out and letting people know about Troubify. And right now it's all focused on artists, and then we are going to switch that over and increase the budgets near the end of the year, and we're going to start marketing toward fans and music lovers.
And to put it in just really basic term for the artist directly, if you're making 2 cents per live view on Troubify, you're incentivized to tell your fans on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, hey, tonight 7 p.m. I'm going live, and it's the only place you're going to catch it live.
Yeah, I love it. Anything else you guys want to add?
I just have to say that I really appreciate the opportunity, Pete, to be on the show. I've had the great privilege to be on the show once before. And I also want to call out the fact that while Brian and I may sit in these chairs to represent the company, and it is a small company, but each one of those team members are really the ones that brought Troubify to life. You know, I come up with the crazy ideas. Brian puts them into language that the developers can understand what to program. But there is there's a handful of other people that really bring the vision to life. So to Crystal, to the Gator, and to Johnny, and to JJ and Jimmy and Sully, and so many others. I know I'm going to leave out names here. Please forgive me, guys. And our wonderful developers, the Venture Devs development team. They're world-class developers that we've worked with for years. And so many other people that have made this thing a reality come to life. So to everyone that's helped us, thank you so much. And to the artists that are watching the show, please consider downloading Troubify. We would love to have you come over and give you the opportunity to show you the virtual club that we've created. We want you all to get up on your stage and to share what you have with the world, give you a platform. It doesn't cost you anything. You just got to push that go live button, make yourself some money. If you can do well, earn yourself a living. That's what we hope for.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks you guys for coming on. Can you push that end broadcast?
Sure can. Thank you so much, Pete. And thank you to everyone who joined. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.